proceeding with the revision of the syllabus, and we are now entering into chapter number 5, and this is Principles of Inheritance and Variation, Genetics chapter. And as I said, this chapter is very important, not only for the sake of marks in the CBSE, but for your career also. You can become a geneticist. So what is after all genetics? Genetics is the study of principles and mechanism of heredity, and of course variations are because of change in genes. So we must be thankful to the greatest scientist, father of genetics, Gregor John Mendel. And what a patient he had to do all the experiments that he has performed. And remember, he was not a scientist to start with. He was only church father. And being a church father, he could produce so much of innovations, so many discoveries that even after centuries, his discoveries and innovations are still acceptable by the people. That is the greatness of Gregor John Mendel. And the greatest discovery that is possible is applicable even today, and the sole reason for this is observation. He just observed what's happening in the nature, and he started with the observing in his own garden, and he observed only one type of plants. All of you know garden pea, Pisum sativum. So all his experiments were based on Pisum sativum, and mere observation led us to so many discoveries. So that is the basic characteristic of a science student. So have good observation. So inheritance. What is inheritance? It's the process by which characters are passed on from parent to progeny. So it is the basis of heredity. That is, we say transfer of characters from one generation to another generation, or transfer of characters from parents to offsprings. And what is variation? It's the degree by which a progeny, means future generation, differ from their parents. So is the F1 generation Xerox copy of the parents? Then we say no variation. But if the progeny, F1 generation, F2 generation is quite different from the parental, the P generation, then we say variation has taken place. So variations may be in terms of morphology, external appearance, physiology, properties of the cells and tissues, cytology, the cell structure, and behavioristic traits of individual belong to same species. So variations can be many. How is that these variations after all arise due to? It's because of reshuffling of genes or chromosomes. Main thing is this: variations are possible. Variations arise only when there is reshuffling of genes. That means locus, gene locus gets changed. When the locus of the gene changes, there will be variation. When there is movement of chromosomes, there is a variation. And then crossing over or recombination. So the combination has modified itself, recombination has taken place. And when the chromatids of two homologous or heterologous chromosomes cross over each other and then break off, exchange the parts of chromatids, that also results in variations, that is crossing over thanks to meiosis, and particularly in meiosis prophase 1. And in that prophase 1, as all of you know, Pachytene is the very crucial stage, substage, where this crossing over takes place. And of course, there will be sometimes sudden changes in an organism, and that sudden change in the organism, sudden change in the phenotype is called mutation. And environment, of course, plays a crucial role. You remember I told you about the parrot story, and the parrot will have a very good behavior if it is grown in the house of a pandit or educationalist, and the same parrot uses abusive language when it is with the bad people. So environment plays a very crucial role. And based on his research, Mendel proposed laws of inheritance. Mendel's law of inheritance. So Mendel conducted hybridization experiments on garden pea. Normally in CBSE, this is one mark question. Scientific name of garden pea, Pisum sativum. And for 7 years, look at this. That's why I said patience, perseverance, and proposed the law of inheritance in living organisms. So two good characters I want all my students to imbibe from Mendel. One is the perseverance. Once you start the work, don't leave it in between until you complete it successfully. So perseverance must be there. And second, patience. And of course, third one, just now I said, observation. You must be a keen observer. And then selection of pea plant. He has selected Pisum sativum. What should be the reason why he has selected only in his around his church in the garden? There are so many plants were available, but how is that he has selected Pisum sativum? There are reasons. So the main reasons for adapting garden pea for experiments by Mendels were pea has many distinct contrasting characters. What do you mean by contrasting characters? Opposite characters, like tall. A plant is very tall, and the contrast is dwarf, means very short. And round seeds, contrasting character is wrinkled seed. So like this, many contrasting characters, almost 7 to 8 contrasting characters are available. So he could do all that experiments. And then second, lifespan of pea plant is short. I think almost in 3 months we can finish it off. Whatever the changes that take place in the life cycle, various changes that take place in the life cycle can be observed if the lifespan of the plant is short. Suppose you take human being, the lifespan on an average will be around 65 to 70 years. So it would be very difficult to understand various changes, various variations that take place in 65 to 70 years. So it is good that if the species that we are selecting has got a short lifespan. And flowers show self-pollination so that the genome can be protected. Reproductive whorls being enclosed by corolla. It is easy to artificially cross-pollinate the pea flowers. The hybrids that produce were fertile. So these are some of the main reasons why he has selected the garden pea. So working method, Mendel's success was also due to his meticulous planning and the method of work. What is that he has done? He studied only one character at a time. That is one. He used all available techniques to avoid cross-pollination by undesirable pollen. And then he applied mathematics and statistics to analyze the results obtained by him. And Mendel selected as just now 7 contrasting characters of garden pea for his hybridization experiments. What are those contrasting characters? As I said, height of the plant. There are 2 contrasting characters. One is tall, another is dwarf. So tall character, dwarf character, phenotypic. Flower color, violet, white. Flower position, axial, means tip of the stem, flower position. And second, terminal, it's not tip on the branch. Pod shape, inflated, means swollen, constricted. Pod color, green piece, yellow piece. And then seed shape, just now I said, round seed and wrinkled seed. And seed color, of course, don't get confused between pod color and seed color. And seed color is yellow and green, as we all observe. So Mendel conducted artificial hybridization as well as cross-pollination using true breeding pea lines. True breeding lines are those that undergo continuous self-pollination and show stable trait inheritance. Trait means character. So hybridization experiment includes emasculation. What is emasculation? Removal of anther and transfer of pollen, pollination. So we'll continue this, our revision notes tomorrow, and then we'll understand what are the various experiments that Mendel has done and what are the conclusions that he has forwarded. Until then, keep practicing.